Hi, this is part 5 of our strawberry grow along, and today we are going to look at strawberry runners, what to do with them, and what to do if you don't want to use them. So first of all, strawberry runners are just one of the ways in which our strawberry plants are reproducing. And they're very clever in the fact that they have a few different ways to ensure that they continue to reproduce, unlike a lot of other plants. So we're going to use some multi-purpose compost and some pots, maybe a couple of stones or some hairpins or something like that, just to hold the runners in position. And then we are actually going to leave these runners attached to the main parent plant, just because that is much easier and it roots much better than if we were to remove it too soon. So I'm going to be taking runners from my new strawberry plants. That gives me the ability of knowing that these are plants that are as healthy as possible and plants that aren't too old and maybe not doing as well as they could do. So it's really about selecting the best plants that you have for the job. For many of us, our strawberries may have also finished actually producing strawberries now, and you may be thinking about whether or not you need to cut the leaves back. So although you can do that sooner, it is something that I usually wait a few more months for, and when they are starting to really look like they need that attention, and then we'll do it all in one go. So these here that are in the wood chips, these are actually some of the runners that have come out of this bed here. And then along the floor here you can also see that there's more runners that are forming from them. So these two plants here are coming from just one runner, and when they're in the ground like this, what they do is actually start putting out little roots. So if I leave these here, these will just root into the ground. And there's the roots you can see on this one towards the end. So to be able to use these and move them, what we need to do is grab ourselves a plant pot with some compost in, and then all we're going to do is just pop those into the top, and then we're going to need a little weight to just hold those in place for now. All we're going to need to do is pop a little stone, or you can also use like a hair clip and pop it down either side onto them, and just make sure that they're still there once we have done the other side, because as you can see, each of these runners is going to produce us more than one plant usually. If you slightly overfill the pots, this can be a little bit easier as well. I'm going to just pop that on there, and that's just going to hold those down for us. And then we will come back in a few weeks and check that it is rooted before we sever it from the parent plant as well. So that's as easy as it is to take the cuttings from the runner of the parent plant, and then next we're going to have a look at what to do if we don't want the cuttings from them with the runners. You can see here we've got lots that are coming off of these, and these are going to root just the same as those others. So all we need to do is go in to find the crown of the plant and remove them, and you'll find that there are lots coming from each of these plants as well. It won't just be one or two, it can be quite a few. There we go, that's those, and they can just go straight into the compost. One of the things that we do need to consider when we're thinking about our strawberries is the spacings. If we allow these runners just to self-root, you're going to end up with a very congested patch. So it is always worth trying to keep an eye on keeping them as spaced out as they need to be, which is usually around a foot per plant. As you do this, do be careful that you just don't take off any stems that are looking very similar like this one does, that is actually just a longer stem with the strawberries on, because they do look very similar to each other, and we don't want to lose any of those strawberries. So here I'm going through and selecting which ones I think are going to do best. So this one here is a really good size. I'm going to take this little one that's growing off of it, and I'll put a pot under that one. And further along here I've got some pretty much the same, so we could cut off the end piece here or just leave that to grow, but I'm only going to put a pot under the first one. Any that are a bit too small, like this one here, again I'm going to cut that one off. This one hasn't developed very much, so that one's going to come off right the way to the back. Same with this one here, it's quite small and I've got lots that are still plenty big enough. So just go through and select the ones that you think are going to give you the best chances of rooting. So this one's already got a bit of a root on it, so that one will do well. One coming out of it here probably wouldn't, and this one here is a bit young. I could leave these on and come back in a week or two and then also root these, but what I'm doing here should be plenty of them. You may notice the little spinners in the background as well, just made with some CDs. So these I've put up here just because we've got some issue with some blackbirds and possibly a pigeon as well, so they just make it more scary for them to approach. So they are a really cheap and easy way of helping along as well. I'm trying to place the pots in an area where the plant is going to naturally sit in it rather than forcing it to stretch to a certain area. And then once again just popping a stone on the top of the stem just to weigh it down and hope that it stays in place. And then next I'm just gently watering them with a small watering can just to avoid dislodging this compost around the area where we want them to root. And they will stay in put now until they are well rooted. So what I have done is remove all the runners from these centre strawberries in the bed of the ones that I am saving them from, and then the ones around the edge I've just popped into the pots. You can just see it hiding in there, and some there, there and there, and they've now been watered. And what we'll do is we'll come back to these as soon as they've rooted and have a look at what we're going to do next.